Dear men, never talk about your relationship. There's a mistake many men make in relationships that looks harmless, extremely harmless on the surface. It is talking too much about your relationship. Most relationships don't fall apart because of one big betrayal or one explosive argument. They erode slowly through small leaks that go unnoticed. One of them is giving too many people access to something that should remain contained. Now, I'm not asking you through this video to hide your partner or to keep secrets. I'm definitely not saying cut yourself off from others or pretend like nothing ever goes wrong in your relationship. All I'm saying, and I want you to understand, is that most relationships are weakened by unnecessary exposure. The more voices involved, the harder it becomes to hear your own. Jessica OS here. Welcome to the channel. So this video is for men who want strong, stable relationships without unnecessary drama. I'm going to explain a few things. Number one, why your silence is a complete game changer. 2, the 3 ways your relationship can become contaminated. And 3, the only time it's okay to share anything about your relationship with outsiders. If you've ever felt like things changed without a clear reason, this might help you see why. Let's jump right in. Number 1, what silence actually means. When most people hear the word silence, they think avoidance, distance, or secrecy. They assume something is being hidden or ignored. And that's not what silence means in a healthy relationship. Now, silence, when used correctly, doesn't mean pulling away from your partner. It simply means containment. It's the conscious decision to protect something valuable from unnecessary exposure, as I told you already. When you care about something, you don't place it in front of everyone for commentary, judgment, or influence. Take note. You protect it, you limit access, you decide who gets proximity and who doesn't. Strong men understand this instinctively. They don't feel the need to explain their relationship to other people, seek validation, or any of that. In fact, they don't need constant approval or reassurance from outside voices. They are comfortable letting their relationship exist without commentary running in the background. Silence is not a lack of communication. It's a decision about where communication belongs. A relationship is not a public project. It's a private system. And systems function best when they're not under constant interference by people who are not a part of them. Many people believe that talking more automatically makes things healthier, right? Sometimes they confuse openness with oversharing and strength with constantly explaining yourself. They believe that being emotionally mature means telling everyone everything. Real strength, however, looks like discernment. It's knowing what should stay inside your relationship, what should be addressed directly, and what does not need an outside opinion. Silence is emotional discipline. It means you don't react impulsively. You don't vent in moments of frustration. You don't invite noise into situations that require clarity. Instead, you take responsibility for regulating yourself before involving anyone else. When you lead with this kind of silence, something important happens. Your woman starts to feel safe because she knows that her private moments are protected. She knows her mistakes will not be shared casually, and she knows that problems will not turn into gossip. That sense of protection builds trust. And trust doesn't come from talking more. It comes from knowing that when things are imperfect, they're still going to be handled with care. Silence used correctly becomes a form of leadership, you see. It will communicate confidence without words. It says you can handle complexity, that you don't need validation from others, that you don't require an audience to feel secure in your relationship. That kind of energy will completely change the relationship dynamic. Once you understand what silence actually is, it becomes obvious why most relationships fail loudly. They basically fail through contamination. Let me share in the next step the 3 ways relationships become contaminated. When a relationship begins to weaken, it rarely happens all at once. Most of the damage is subtle, quiet, gradual. It starts when things that should stay contained begin leaking outward. Once that happens, the relationship stops being guided from the inside and starts being shaped by outside forces. So like I said, let me share 3 common ways this contamination happens, right? The first is through, number 1, third-party opinions. The moment other people are brought into your relationship, they begin forming judgments about something they basically don't understand. They don't live inside the relationship. Neither do they experience the daily tone, the effort, the intention, right? They only receive fragments, and usually delivered during moments of frustration and conflict. And because of that, their understanding of your other half or your partner is often built on her worst moments and not her full character. Even if things improve later, their opinions rarely update or change. You see, people always hold on to the first version of the story they hear. And over time, this changes how you think. You stop relying on your own judgment and start anticipating how others will interpret your choices. Instead of leading from clarity, you begin filtering decisions through imagined reactions that you're going to get. And at that point, authority leaves the relationship. You see, a relationship doesn't need a jury. And the moment it has one, direction will become compromised. 2, emotional venting. Relationships become contaminated through emotional venting. This one is especially deceptive because it actually feels productive. Venting looks like emotional honesty, but most of the time, it's simply emotional release. When you vent, you're not solving the issue. You're relieving tension by retelling the story. Each retelling reinforces the emotional charge attached to the problem rather than dissolving it. You see, your mind can't quite distinguish between something happening once and something being replayed repeatedly. So each time you vent, the frustration is rehearsed and strengthened. Over time, this creates an unintended bond between you and the people you vent to, and it's built around problems that belong inside the relationship. Meanwhile, the relationship itself begins to feel colder. You may not notice the shift, but your partner will. Your patience will shorten. The warmth that you share with them will fade. Your presence will change. She begins to sense that emotional closeness is being shared elsewhere. And venting trains your nervous system to seek relief outside the relationship instead of learning how to regulate yourself and repair things directly. So each time that happens, disconnection is practiced instead of resolution. The third contamination point is performance and image. Now, once other people are watching your relationship, it stops being lived honestly and then starts being managed, staged. The performance sets in. Decisions are no longer based on alignment, but on how it will look to other people. You begin to consider how things look rather than how they feel or whether they're working, right? Pride enters where truth should be. This is how people stay in relationships longer than they should or leave later than they need to. The fear of explanation replaces clarity. The relationship becomes something to maintain publicly rather than something to evaluate privately. The moment a relationship needs witness, evaluate privately. The moment a relationship needs witnesses to survive, it begins to lie to protect its image. Now, all of these 3 contamination points share the same outcome. Authority is outsourced. Instead of the relationship being guided by the 2 people inside of it, it becomes influenced by the voices that have pretty much no stake in how the relationship thrives. Strong relationships remain strong because they stay self-contained. Privacy is not secrecy. Privacy is control. Why your silence is a game changer. When silence is used correctly, it doesn't weaken a relationship. It stabilizes it. Silence creates structure where there's chaos. One of the first things silence does is it creates emotional safety. When a relationship is kept private, both people feel less exposed. There's a sense that mistakes will not be broadcast, conflicts will not become stories, vulnerable moments will not be shared carelessly. It allows both of you to be imperfect without the fear of public judgment. Emotional safety is not built by talking more. It's built by knowing that when things are messy, they're still protected. Silence also strengthens trust. When a woman knows that her relationship is not being discussed with friends, co-workers, family members, every time that there's tension, she understands that she is being handled with care. She feels chosen rather than exposed. And over time, it will create a deeper sense of loyalty because she knows the relationship is a place of containment, not commentary. Silence preserves attraction. When a man does not rush to narrate every feeling or seek outside validation, he maintains a grounded presence. He signals that he can sit with discomfort, regulate himself, lead through uncertainty. And that calm confidence is felt almost immediately. Silence creates respect, and respect is the foundation of lasting attraction. Silence improves conflict resolution. When fewer people are involved, problems are handled faster and more honestly. There's no need to defend positions to outsiders or protect an image that's already been shared. Conversations stay focused on solutions rather than stories. Issues are addressed directly instead of being processed indirectly through other people's lenses. It reduces resentment. It prevents small problems from growing into these permanent fractures that end your relationship. Silence keeps responsibility where it belongs. When you don't vent, gossip, or overshare, you're forced to develop emotional regulation. You learn how to pause instead of react, how to think instead of explode, how to speak with intention instead of frustration. Silence also protects intimacy. Intimacy thrives in spaces that feel exclusive and contained. When everything about a relationship is shared, intimacy becomes diluted. When private moments stay private, they retain their meaning. There's a sense of us that can't exist when too many people are involved. At a deeper level also, silence communicates leadership. You see, it signals that the relationship is being guided from the inside and not being influenced by outside forces. It says that decisions will be made based on alignment rather than approval. It creates stability because stability comes from knowing that the relationship doesn't need an audience to survive. Listen, if this is hitting home, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. We're going hard this year with more of such videos. Stay educated. Number 4, the exception to the rule. There are times when clarity is difficult to assess from inside the situation. And sometimes an outside view, admittedly, can help restore some kind of balance. Now, this rule is simple. Very few people should have access to your relationship, and even fewer should have access to its problems. This access must be earned through demonstrated neutrality, emotional maturity, discretion. So these are people who don't take sides, don't escalate drama, and don't confuse emotional comfort for good counsel. Now, even when you choose to involve an outsider, the way you involve them matters, okay? It's not venting, it's not emotional dumping, it's not an invitation for character attacks or one-sided storytelling. The purpose is clarity, not validation. So the goal is to understand your role, not to build your case against your partner. A useful question to ask before involving anyone is whether the conversation will move the relationship forward or simply make you feel better in the moment. That's a good way to assess it. You see, if it's only about relief to help you feel relieved, it will most likely come at a cost of long-term connection. The exception rule also requires scene restraint. I mean, just because someone is trusted doesn't mean they need full access to your relationship. You can share the situation without sharing every single detail. You can seek perspectives without handing over the emotional core of the relationship. Boundaries within boundaries are part of leadership, you see. Another important part of the exception rule is timing, and I can't end this video without talking about it. Seeking input in the heat of the moment almost always leads to distortion. Strong men learn to pause first. They regulate themselves before involving anyone else. When the emotional charge has settled, your perspective will become clearer, and the need for outside input actually would disappear altogether, you see. Ultimately, the exception rule exists to preserve authority inside the relationship. Outside voices should clarify, not contaminate. They should support repair, not rehearse resentment. When used sparingly and intentionally, outside input can strengthen a relationship. When you use it carelessly, it will weaken it. Silence, therefore, is recognizing that access to your relationship is a privilege and not a right. Not everyone deserves a front row seat, and not every problem needs a witness. Men who understand this don't feel the need to explain their relationships to anyone. They protect them. They lead quietly, and because of that, their relationships last longer and feel lighter. Was this video helpful? Smash the like button so I can feel it in my heart. Jessica OS here, catch you in the next video. Cheers.